welcome to Benchwarmers Awoso podcast, episode 32. The World Cup qualifications. We are going to start with the titans of the Scandinavian sides that are Sweden and Denmark. So Stina Blackstenius captaining the side against Pernille Harder's Denmark.
This is the only result that this should have happened if the Stina Blackstenius captain. I'm telling you, it has to happen like this.
A 2-1 loss?
They have to lose and then come back exponentially in their next game. That's important.
So the next game they have to win 5-0 Stina
Yes,
hat-trick.
and that is going to happen. I'm telling you that is going to happen.
So but we did talk about the fact that there was no Sandberg going to be there because of the big injury. So they had Sofia Reedy at left back, first game for the Swedes, and because of Aslani's ACL,
Jesus Christ.
I screwed that up. But Becky Blomqvist was playing on that right side in that that central right channel. What is it? Channel 3 for Aslani, as we used to call it. But Denmark playing their classic 3 at the back. And then it was, this was an interesting game in a lot of ways. Ultimately, a serious upset. You say this has to happen because Stina's captain. I don't think Stina's reign as captain should have started with a loss to a team that they are severely better at, pretty much across the park, bar Pernille Harder. How many Danish players get into this Swedish side in that capacity? But
not many.
Yeah, and it started early with Sweden absolutely ripping apart Denmark in the way I thought they would, with an amazing ball from Angerdal, a 1-2 with Smiller, Arsenal's own Smiller Holmberg, who absolutely rinsed Svava for pace, which is a little bit of foreshadowing, I feel like. I feel like that was a moment that they'll be talking about in Highbury, thinking to themselves, maybe this is how we get past them. But it was cool that couldn't deal with the cross that Smiller had. It bounced off her foot and then fell to Schroeder. Schroeder backheels it to Bar. If anyone watches Hacken out there, Schroeder to Bar is probably the most goal contributions between the two of them of anyone in Europe. I'd say their combination play is some of the best, and get used to it if you're a European side, because Schroeder and Bar are going to be running Woso. If Schroeder and Bar were US players, we'd be yapping about them like they're Johannes and Schroeder. Literally Schroeder. Yeah, the Schroeder effect, the Schrodinger's effect. She is an absolute machine, and when she gets going, it's not just her goals. Schroeder has an amazing goal tally, but her facilitation play is what is scary. And a lot of this game is just nearly moments, missed crosses for Sweden, missed headers for Sweden, missed long shots for Sweden, and goal line clearances from Denmark, albeit pretty impressive. But moments where this game could have been 5-2, 6-2 for Sweden. And look, that doesn't take anything away from Denmark in the fact that they just kept going. And as I said, Schroeder hit the post after 40 seconds with a great move. Mikkelsen had to readjust their team to make sure that the chances that were being facilitated for Sweden were outside the box, not that edge of the box play that they got early on. She hit the post again from a set piece ball that Thiskard dealt with for Denmark. But you had, Stina heading the woodwork. There was just so many moments for Sweden that just didn't go their way to kill this game off early, and then all it takes is one. And you had Cecelia Floe doing the magic, playing the ball through. Who did she slip through? I think it was Nelhage, who is a Lyon player, by the way. Slips through Nelhage, plays the ball to the behind the back foot of Bella Anderson, which was clean as well. And Pernille Harder gets an absolute tap in, which is, she must have thought she was playing for Bayern just then, the way she got that chance. But look, when you're in Cecelia Floe state, you cannot stop her. And I absolutely love this girl. We've been talking about her since that brace for Napoli in, I think it would have been episode 3 or 4, where she was in our Benchwarmers Awards. And then she was in our Benchwarmers Awards recently. So she's in a form hike. And clearly Mikkelsen knows about it, because she's deserved her starts for Denmark, and she's absolutely announced it today. If anyone didn't know who she was, they know who she is now, because look, all it takes is another one to get in front. But this is the Tony Gustafsson motto. This is how many chances can you get without scoring. So I'm going to go through the list of the chances I put together in the extended highlights package. But Smiller had a banger from distance that that was stopped on the line by Thorgerson. We had Schroeder crossing it to Stina's head and it missed her by about half a head. Barr had a long shot. Olmay had a long shot. Schroeder and Stina, super deep long shots that were so far wide. Like, these wasted chances for Sweden. Like, obviously you can reset and repress and do that, but it's so jarring when all these chances that you work so hard to do just don't go your way, and then all it takes is a super sub, because Harder was forced off to injury. And it took a ball from Sophie Svava, who made up for her defensive lapse in that first half, with an absolute ping of a ball to Cecelia Floe. And then Floe turns and makes it a counterattack and plays it to Janni Thomsen, who Megs Falk, right? How many people can say they've megged Falk in a one-on-one? That's a ridiculous finish. They go 2-1 up. Sweden had all the chances after this strike, and you just think to yourself, wow, on another day, Sweden get everything out of this game. But also, Sweden just continuing to disappoint in ways that we kind of consider are like, oh, there's little ramifications for this game. They probably will end up qualifying. But the reality is that there's another day where they get over the line in this game by 3 or 4 goals, and you just think to yourself, was there any way that was going to happen with the subs that they made, with the personnel that they had on the pitch? I don't know. It just left a lot to be desired, I guess.
I don't know if saying that they are going to qualify is like a dead and buried statement, because I don't actually think that they will automatically qualify. I think that there is an Italian team there that is going on an absolute like hunt for that second place. They got their first win. But I think this is probably, I might be corrected here, I don't know the whole history of Tony Gustafsson, might be his worst start in a managerial position. He underused his bench again. He only used 3 subs. He needed another
That's
goal.
very Tony G, to be fair.
He didn't use Beta Olsen, he didn't use EJ, he didn't use JRK, he didn't use Rosa Kafaji. Like, they're goal scorers, and especially goal scorers who can come on and make a difference. And he didn't use them. And I think
Kafaji scored in that Nations League semi-final, second leg as well.
Beta Olsen has been on a run of form. Like, these are players that are doing it for club, are so capable of doing it for Sweden. And I don't know whether it's system or personnel taking precedence, but it's not helping in the like most fundamental thing, which is qualifying for a World Cup. And I think if you're taking these games, and look, I went into this game very naively thinking that Denmark had been the most underwhelming European side in the last 12 months. They had a terrible Euros. They didn't bounce back the way I thought they would, but they did this game. And I think that Sweden went into this game a lot like myself, underestimating this Denmark team, and they came out away on Sweden's home soil. And I think in that last half, in the second half specifically, completely killed them.
100%. And I think that now we look at the table, Denmark are 1 game ahead, Italy are ahead on ridiculous goal difference because of that game against Serbia. And I mean, look, Sweden drew to Serbia on Serbia's home soil. So it is a question of when are they going to deliver? When are they going to do the things we know they can do? Obviously, we watched that game against Germany where they absolutely smoked them out. There are games where you do watch them play and you do think to yourself, okay, so they can do it. They can deliver on big stages. Obviously, the Nations League was a bit disappointing in a myriad of ways.
The Sweden haven't scored more than 1 goal in each of the 3 of their World Cup qualifying games. And you talk about Italy being ahead, they're not, because of the head-to-head stupidity that Ligue 1 has as well. But Sweden-Italy is going to be the most important game for Sweden since probably the Euros, including the Nations League.
So since that 4-1 Germany game, that they won, and they were on that ridiculous run of form. So they lost to England on pens, which was a tough game. And then since then have lost 4 and only won 1 of their 7 games since. So it is an interesting form for Gustafsson, and it does question whether they need to look elsewhere. Is it a personnel problem? Obviously, Aslani being out can't be the only reason that they're losing games to Denmark. Is it a culture problem? Is it Tony G needs to go? I
think it's like a bit of a Norway problem.
Do we toe the line?
I think it's a bit of a Norway problem.
Yeah, okay. In the realm of that it has to be we say it's Grainger for Norway, but
no, I think in terms of complacency, I think in terms of players thinking that they're better than they are, in terms of maybe
like a legacy problem.
Yeah, I think that this side, I mean, you're benching Rolfo for one, like That's insane to me.
But they're benching Stina against Serbia as well. So it is a question of, like, again, we talk about Byron Schroeder a lot, and they're going to be the future of the team. But how about bring them on for 40 minutes or 30 minutes at the end of the game and get the Stinas, the JRKs of the world who do it at the top of the top of the top to deliver on the bigger stage. And I mean, you mentioned the Norway of it all. Norway absolutely cooked the crap out of Slovenia, right? So, I mean, we will skip to that game just quickly because we don't have to talk about it for a long time. But Grainger's Norway, after the half, basically picked apart Al Ittihad's goalie in Zala Mersnik, who made some absolute worldies in the first half. I mean, Ada got stopped a few times. Woodwork challenge as well from their own defenders are causing potential own goals, and she's saving them. But it was the last kick of the half where it was, I believe it was Ada finding her way from a Carolina Graham Hansen cross. And then after Finkestrad saved Slovenia's only big chance from Sternad and Zara Kramzar, we had a Julie Blakstad bomb. This was... I mean, we'll get to the Ireland game as well very, very soon, but this was, I think, goal of the week. This is an absolute perler of a long shot from, I didn't know she could do this, from 30, 35 yards. This is top right corner. I'm like, anyone out there who doesn't watch, I'm thinking about, like, who didn't see this, like Maya Letizier's long shot earlier in this season. I'm thinking there's not many strikes in a week that you'll see, or in a month that you'll see, that are better than this Blackstad bomb. But then we had a Keeland-Caro combo, which was just amazing, and then Caro rockets it into the roof of the net for 3-0. This was angry Caro. This was 23-24 Caro. This was like, put my hands down and bow Caro. That's this era Caro. Like, we want to see, like, magic Caro in the lead up to this semi-final, and I think it's coming. Karolinos Polos Hermanos is coming to you soon enough, and for ever who knows, you're about to see some mad stuff soon enough. But Caro, when she's on, is, again, top 2 in the world. I don't think there's much better than her. But we had Jensen and Savik delivering on the international stage for the 4th goal, and then Ada finishing up her brace with a 5-star performance for Norway. And it's good to see Norway on their hikes, winning the games that they should win, because that's what you got to do. And that makes your week even better when Sweden lose and you win. Like, you are Sweden's biggest rivals, and there's a chance that you take your group, you're in Group D with Germany, and you're probably going to qualify straight away, and then Sweden will have to be in a playoff. And I think the people who are going to be the happiest about that are people like Caro and Ada. Like, that's what they deserve. They need to be playing at their best to get these 5-star performances.
Well, they came back from a 4-0 loss to Germany, and that to me signified that topsy-turviness of this Norway team, because they only beat Austria 1-0 in a pretty it wasn't necessarily the performance that I thought that Norway would come out with in the first World Cup qualifier. But this game to me cemented the Grainger ball that we'd been kind of hoping we'd see, because we have to say that this is a Norway team in transition, but it's a transition that has been so slow that to me it felt like it was a stagnating transition. It was one that we needed to see players being played in the right positions. We needed to see a style of football that would be facilitating the best of these players. I think Klara, I think Ada, they are the players who you need to facilitate most in this team, because they're the ones that are going to get you the goals and are going to get you wins. And this game, yes, against a Slovenia side that is not in the top tiers of European football, but against a side that you need to be beating, because in a World Cup, there's going to be more teams and there's going to be more opportunities for you to slip up. And we did see it in the last World Cup, in 2023, just why they didn't qualify, because of the fact that they were slipping up. And in these games, when they score goals and when they are in control, it just reminds me of the Norway of old.
100%. And I think that, like, look, Slovenia aren't far away from some of the teams that I wish the Tillies were playing. Like, they're 38th in the world. Like, they're not a terrible side. They have some players that I think, like, look, Zara Kramzar is not a scrub by any means, and Sternard as well, playing for Werder Bremen. Like, they have players that are in and around Europe, and I think that that's super important, and that's what keeps your clubs going. And I mean, I already gave Mersnik her props. I was like, is this Woso Oblak in the first half? I was like, she is like doing the business. And Slovenia have this rich history now through Oblak of 15 years of amazing goalkeeping. And I think that Slovenia have a lot to hold their head up. I mean, look, they have one win. They beat Austria.
Yeah.
Austria is the bottom of this group. If you asked us before the qualifiers started whether we'd say Austria or Slovenia finished at the bottom, I think we'd both say Slovenia.
It's
so
without
they've got
Spilsberger. Look what
yeah,
happens.
exactly, and they got their win. They got their win over Austria earlier in this year. But we are going to move to the next game in our doc, which is a perler of a game. This was Poland and Ireland, Group B, heating up. I know you say here that you called it a bit of an underdogs. I don't know if you pound for pound would I call Ireland the underdogs. I think they need that mentality, but I think that's a bit of the Carla Ward thing. Like, we need to be out like working them and work harder than our opposition. But I think this game showed who the technically gifted and the players who wanted more to win it over the line.
I just put underdogs in accordance to this particular qualifier, just because I think Poland have really outperformed themselves. Obviously,
at home as well.
Yeah, obviously the icing on the cake of that being the Netherlands game.
Oh, that was one. I think that's my favorite game of the year internationally.
Just because of the comms.
The comms was mental, and the comms for this game were good. I got Irish comms for this game. I wanted to find the Polish comms, but I only got Irish comms, and the Irish comms were just as good as the football that Ireland
I think
playing.
that we deserved Ireland comms for the goals that Ireland scored. Like, I wouldn't have wanted, the Polish commentator so obviously nationalistic to be reacting to the Katie McCabe.
Oh, he would have been sad. He would have just been like, Katie McCabe goal. Imagine his reaction for Pajor's goal as well.
Yeah,
oh my god! All right, we'll have to find that. Pajor. But it was amazing. So let's give the Irish team the team they deserve before we say we find the actual comms of what it should have been. But Denise O'Sullivan had her mitts all over their midfield. Like, look, I like Tomasiak, I like Pavolek. You guys got absolutely ruined. Padilla as well. Denise O'Sullivan was everywhere. Shiva was facilitating really well, and it was Murphy. Wow. Murphy involved in all three goals. The first one being her goal, the Hezi, where she opens up her body. I thought she was going for that far top right corner. She's gone for bottom left. The ability to shape your body like that. I remember like Thierry Henry talking about like the best strikers being able to contort themselves in ways that put off keepers. It didn't matter that the shot wasn't perfectly bottom left corner. I think everyone thought she was trying to open up her foot and go wide, and she's put it near. And it was an amazing strike, like wise beyond her years with that finish. And I think Murphy is something to look out for, especially after this game, to deliver on this stage. But it was Katie McCabe at the edge of the box from a corner that was half cleared. Look, probably the worst player in women's football for it to fall out to if you're defending that. I'm going to criticize my streamer goat in Padilla. You are the edge of the box defender. You can't get caught ball watching the corner and let Katie, like, your job is basically to stop that whoever the player on the edge of the box is from not getting the ball, but just getting an easy shot at goal. And the sad reality is that for that goal, Katie McCabe, that's pretty much easy. That's pretty much her bread and butter. I'd expect her to score that, not miss that. And that's probably the best compliment you can give a player like KM11, which is the fact that she just scores this goal way too much. She scores these pearlers way too much. She does it in Irish colours more than she does it in Arsenal colours at this rate. So she's really just put her country on her back in ways that, like, you can't really describe other than like maverick-like behaviour from a left back, no less. I know she's shelled into left back, but the reality is there's a question of whether, like, I don't know, there's a question of Katie McCabe's future at Arsenal as well, but is there a question of Katie McCabe's future if she moved club? Would she play left back? Would she go somewhere else? Would she end up further up the pitch?
Well, I mean, just to talk about her playing for Arsenal, I mean, Katie McCabe reprising her role as Jesus for this Irish women's national team, because she does it for them every single game. Yeah. Like, this is a player now that is so different. Like, I think of her as an Arsenal player and her as an Irish player to completely do two different things. And that's not to say that she does the things for Ireland and she doesn't do it for Arsenal. It's just different. Like, for Ireland, she does not play in left back. So that's what I think is an important statement here. She plays everywhere. Like, if she could play goalkeeper, she would, right? This is a player that is not shilled into one position, because you see her everywhere. She has the freedom because the team around her is going to work for her. For Arsenal, it's it's facilitating a system. She needs to play left back. She can go a little bit higher up if she needs to, but it's fundamentally to help whoever the winger is to create an overlap, but also to help defend. Yeah. For another team, though, it kind of depends where she goes. So if she's going to a team that is like really, really system heavy, that is relying on a player that is who I think and who we both think is one of the best defensive left backs in the world, then yes, she stays at left back. If not, I think the best system for her is the 3-back system. I really think that she can exploit that space in front of her, come in and invert. One of the things that she was probably one of the first on the quote-unquote mainstream stage to be inverting as a fullback. So yeah, it kind of depends where and what team she goes to. If she stays in England, then yes. If she goes to the NWSL, it's one of those interesting things about how is she going to mold herself into that sort of physical play, whether she's actually able to be that quote-unquote traditional left winger.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, I don't know, it actually depends on the NWSL team she goes to, because some of them are so system heavy. Like, they will facilitate her as, like, I just think a lot of the NWSL, it relies on, when you come over as Katie McCabe, you are, whether it's by label or definition or whatever the technical term is, whether she's defined as that or not, she's a high-impact player, right?
Yeah.
High-impact players need to score goals. She can't just be playing left back, locking up Chawinga or Jaden Shaw, and then we sit there and go, oh, how good was Katie McCabe's game? Oh, great. She needs to score goals, yeah? And if she's going to score goals from the centre of the park, maybe this is the Karchawi era of Katie McCabe, where she goes into the centre of the park and just runs the show. And, no one more than me would love to watch her do it in colours that aren't murdering my side. But the thing is, if she stays in England, if she goes to LCL, it would be such a waste for her to play left back. She's got to be further up the pitch, I think unless she's playing for one of the big 4 Titan teams, which is Barca, Lyon, Bayern, and I don't see her in Germany. I don't see her in Spain. I just don't see it. I just see her either going to LCL, which I think is understood but poor, and then going to the NWSL, which is probably the right choice based on the fact that she's kind of won everything. I don't know why she wouldn't stay at Arsenal, just wait. It's kind of I think it's the Bunny Shaw situation where she will sign, it'll just be at the end of the year. And I do agree with the fact that it's just what she means to Arsenal, how much she means to Ireland, the we've got McCabe, it's not just we've got McCabe, it's we have McCabe that we can rely on McCabe, and fans of Katie McCabe that don't go for Arsenal or Ireland, like myself, don't understand what it means. It is part of the chant. Well, I just don't think you understand. We don't understand how good she is, but we do see it in moments and glimpses and go, this is what she can do. And we just think, oh, why doesn't she just do it more? Why doesn't she play further up? But we're dreamers, right? I want to see Katie McCabe play like this every week, but that's not the possibility of. I don't think that goal or those moments where she's scoring for Ireland time in, time out is the reality in club ball, I guess, where she can do the lockdown role. She can play just a solid 7.5 out of 10 for Arsenal, which she has been doing for the better part of half a decade. Yeah. But we will continue on to where Poland decide to make this a game. And I did make this clear before that I think Ireland should have won this game 4-0. I don't think that Poland had any right to get back in this game. Yes, they had a few moments of brilliance, but Anna Patten, sorry, not Fiona Patten. That's a different human being. Shout out to all the Aussies out there who understood who I was talking about. But Anna Patten, former Arsenal, I believe. Yes, is that correct in saying that? Yep. She locked up Pajor for 45 minutes, absolutely splendidly. There were moments where Pajor is 6 yards out taking shots. She's blocking her. She did it to Bunny. She did it to Alessia Russo earlier in the year. If any team needs a backup centre-half that isn't Ruby Mace for $100 million because of how young and English Ruby Mace is, get the Irish Ruby Mace. That's probably better in a lot of ways. I think Patten is just I think she's mustard. I think she's so good, and she's probably one of the most underrated players in the WSL. We haven't like done our overrated, underrated 11s. We'll do that at the end of the year because then you'll see Leggy and I absolutely scream at each other, and that's what everyone really wants to see. But despite that, we had Pavolek headering this Alessia Russo-esque thumping header from the Tomasiak cross, short corner. No right to concede this goal. As I said, Courtney Brosnan will not be beaten by shitty goals. She is one of the great shot stoppers. And look, clinical from Poland. It kept them in the game. Patten gave no space to Pajor. And then all of a sudden, we had Murphy setting up Shiva for an absolute blistering strike, by the way. I don't know why she's... to be fair, I don't know why she's got that much space at the edge of the box. She's launched the ball into that top left corner. But... I don't know. People just say Katie McCabe's goal is harder, but the reality is that this goal kills off the game. You had Denise O'Sullivan and Aoife Magnon locking that press to get this goal that ended up with Murphy assisting. And Murphy assisting scoring one goal, 2 assists in a 3-2 win. There's definitely going to be lookouts at the back end of this WSL. I mean,
she plays for Newcastle. She might be promoted into the end of it.
Maybe, but I think it'll be Charlton and Birmingham.
Well, she might get that third place because they
exactly. Maybe they will have a playoff, but if she doesn't get through, the idea that Charlton or Birmingham wouldn't sign a player like Murphy is horrendous. I think they would go for it 100%. Or even Leicester, if they go down, Leicester would probably sign a player like Murphy to get them back up because of her ability, and she's been very good during the season. I do think there is a question of who Ireland actually starts up front, because I think who was the girl that came on that was really good? Amber Barrett. I think Amber Barrett is really good, and she came on for Larkin, but she was the one who scored for Strasbourg against Lyon in that 2-2 draw. So I do think Amber Barrett has the ability to end up starting for Ireland, but the question will be how Carla Ward gets that mix right. And then we had arguably one of the best goals of the week as well in Ella Pajor chipping. As we said, Courtney Brosnan does not concede shitty goals. Ella Pajor is the only player in WOSO that scores this goal. I'm so certain of that fact as well.
That goal is the only way I can explain it is it's Zlatan-esque.
Oh, Zlatan, like the Haaland athleticism, like the having your foot that high in that angle and then aiming the ball, aiming the ball perfectly, the trajectory of it, it's just perfection.
It's not even the technique. It's like it's the nonchalance in that very Zlatan. It's like, I picked the ball up. I'm just going to chip you. Like, very easy, very practiced. And that's why we call her the best striker in the world.
You know who would do this? Like, Luis Suarez would score this goal. Yeah, Luis. Like I'm talking about the greats of where we are talking about the greats and the greats of Menso to ascribe who could score this. Like, there are no, like, I'm thinking about, like, Woso greats, like, Carly Lloyd, maybe Prime Marta puts this, but she goes around it. But Prime Marta goes around the keeper in that space. And it's a tough space. You're like 28, 27 yards out on the angle, and she's outside of the foot, chipped it into the goal, and just like looked up nonchalantly like, yep, all right, 3-2, let's keep playing, let's keep going. They had no right to be in this game. And it's goals like this where you just think to yourself, wow, I cannot believe people compare you to Bunny and Alessia and Banda and all the rest. You are so far clear of everyone else. And then we had Olivia Voss sadly pulling down Murphy. What more do you want Murphy to do in this game? She wins a penalty. Yeah, she should have taken the pen. It should have been 2-2, and then her transfer market value goes up about 100,000 for that game. But Katie McCabe skies the penalty to completely nullify her volley.
Can we talk about the Caitlin Ford reaction to this goal on Snapchat? Like, did you see this?
Yeah, I heard that there wasn't the message, but I didn't actually see the Snapchat.
It's so funny. She like replied to this guy Mark. Mark was like, "Did you see that Katie McCabe penalty?" And then Caitlin Ford was like, "How many international goals have you scored, Mark?"
Oh like, my god, she got ripped. No, she's been ribbed by Mark. Really?
I know. It's
Come on, how many Marks message Caitlin Ford every day, and you've really nibbled onto that one? Okay, sure. You know what, Katie McCabe. I mean, look, it's an interest. Look, that penalty is still rising. To be honest, that was a rocket. Absolutely, she should have just passed it in the net. She dived before the penalty as well. Who was it? Was it Shemek? I believe that was in goal. But Kamshik's free kick was the last one, and Dudek was offside, sadly. But Ireland took the 3 points. Look. I think that was a weird game where I think Carla Ward will be looking at that game very happy at the offensive output and the ability going forward, but thinking to themselves, maybe this calls for, like, obviously they're really tough, rough goals to concede, but you can't just be letting in rough goals and then go, well, that's just the case. Like, we need to be cutting those off at the source and not, or timing our goals in a way, and obviously you can't time your goals, but like facilitating ways where you kill off the game early and don't give them a sniff, because especially the first goal, the header at the end of the first half, that's the worst time to concede. And I think that there is just a way to kill games off that's more conducive to Ireland's success, which I think they deserve rightfully.
They're far better than that 2023 version of them that was the first to make a World Cup. And I think if they don't make a World Cup, like we said in the previous international window, it would be probably the biggest disappointment for this team that is not only carrying the weight of their women's version of it, but they're also carrying the weight of their men's federation, because the men are equally like incapable.
That was pain though. Troy Parrott and Katie McCabe, man. Those two are like the Father, the Son, and then the Holy Ghost is Carla Ward, I guess. Yeah. But it is cruel. I mean, that's Group B, I believe, is the most entertaining in this World Cup qualification, because Poland are in the pits at this point. I think they are done and they are out. But we'll have Ireland in the playoff, and then I believe it'll probably be France and Netherlands, obviously in the same group. Every single tournament, every single qualification, it's like Australia's Menso and Denmark. They're always together. But Netherlands and France, we got another rendition of this classic game. We had a Netherlands win, by the way. So obviously in the Euros, we had the Cascarino magic in that tournament. But in this game, we had magic from a rookie, an absolute rookie in Renee Van Asten. 11 minutes into her debut, she pounces on a Lynn Vilms free kick. Another player that would go in my underrated 11 in the WSL. Lynn Vilms is the greatest right back that's ever lived in football. As a dead ball right back who plays balls across, like standing still ball, I think she's genuinely the best at it. I think, like, there is a reason why Kirsten Kasperij does not start for the Dutch, and it's Lynn Vilms. And this young Ajax hero who somehow touched it between Mbok and the masses and then finishes off this goal 11 minutes into her first game against a titan in France. Look, you have announced yourself straight away, and I think Van Asten could solve a lot of problems, because she did make some really good stops, made it hard for Katoto to score in this game. Katoto had so many chances. My God, Diani in France is just a different breed to Leon Diani, where Diani just facilitates, and they give her the license to facilitate. I think that's Bonaday. I think Bonaday just trusts Diani to just do the job for them. But my God, Van Asten, and who was the other centre half? I'm trying to remember who it was, but
Berman.
Viola. Yeah, this is the new era of the Dutch. I think this is the two youngsters, two 19-year-olds running the show. Seeing Viola Berman in the centre of the park as well. What do you think of that?
I think that she's had a pretty I don't want to say like underrated Chelsea time, but I think
don't remind me of my takes where I think she's a waffle. I did say she was waffle at the start of the season, but she's proven me wrong. Definitely.
I was going to say I think I might have, like, at an early episode had called her out and said that I think that everyone is underestimating her, because I think that her solidly at the back. I mean, she had insane blocks this game in a very tight and a very physical game. These two teams do not like each other off the back of this 90 minutes, and this was a team of Netherlands players who was incredibly young. I mean, they had a 24-year age average, I think, in comparison to a near 28-year-old average in France. So
two teenagers in the back line, which is absolutely mental.
And France were playing a type of football that was heavily reliant upon that age. They were trying to get their experience on the end of crosses. They were far and easily the best team in attack, in my opinion, because of the fact that they had Sandy Baltimore, they had Diani cutting into the box so many times. It was just on the fact that Katoto did not have her kicking boots on, neither her header boot or her header head. Her head was not screwed on right today. It was biscuit tin head Katoto today, and
And it's disappointing because we know, I actually think Katoto is just one of those big game players. I just think when it's a tournament,
This is
she
not a
turns
big
up.
game?
I mean, by the extension of the group, yes, it's the biggest game, but unless it's a quarterfinal, Katoto is one of those players that just turns up in the groups, and I think she can, like, especially in that Euros, she looked so inevitable through the center. I do think she has developed this knack to get onto chances that she doesn't like. Like, if she gets the first one, then it turns into 2 and 3. But I think if she misses the first 2, the first 3, then it starts to get in her head. And I think she thinks that, like, there was one chance in this game, I believe, where she just absolutely romped it into into DVD, and it was just like, you got to be doing better than that. You have to be sealing that up.
Especially when DVD's not on her best game. I mean, she let an easy goal in.
Yeah, that was cruel. I mean, I'm gonna give your goalie some less criticism here, but ultimately, this is the Sandy Baltimore agenda item, which is that she is just gonna cross and cross and cross until her justification in a side is there, because her backline transition, I mean, ultimately is the reason for why that. There was the moment in the game where Captain gets through, and then Captain plays that ball to, I believe it was Esme, and then Esme rifled that ball.
It was deflected onto Esme as well.
It was. There was just moments where I just think in transition, France do just look a bit suspect. I do think there are just players in this side. Look, I think Lamogadec had some moments where she set up Diani, set up Katoto. I think she's really good, but that third midfielder in the French spine. So I think Lamogadec is safe. I think Baltimore, sadly, is safe, but I think Jean-Francois is not the one. And sadly, I don't think Gioro is the one either. So it's this situation where that third midfielder that's got to be the Lamogadec is the creative one. Baltimore can speed around and be the mercurial, like, overlapper, but someone to actually resist and stabilize. Yes, Gioro 2024, 2025, sure, that's the player we're looking for right now. But where is the archetype of that player?
Well, you're reading my mind, because I was just about to say I don't trust this France midfield. I don't think that they're balanced well enough. I really think that they're missing Cascarino. And I know that type and that archetype of player is evident with the style of Diani. But what we saw from Cascarino was not the line-hugging runs. We saw an inversion into midfield. We saw her breaking lines in a way that I don't think that this France side that is heavily reliant upon getting the ball wide, kicking it beyond themselves, and then just running onto it, because their speed is there. But I just don't think the balance of, particularly Jean-Francois, who I think is very good for Aston Villa and has been a fantastic mid-season transfer, is got the outlet for the style of players that they have in front of them. And I think that, is it going to be putting maybe a Matteo in the number 10 to go around with Lamogadec? Is it
I think Matteo should be up front. I think, like, honestly, I think Matteo, like, if they're gonna do Katoto up front properly, then that's fine. But she can't do it all on her own in the centre if there's no 10 behind her. So Matteo can be that, but then you've got to trust your midfield to be in a 2, right? And obviously I love Karchaoui, and Karchaoui's a great player, but Karchaoui doesn't get the freedom she gets for PSG in a French top. And I think that is the worry sign for her club form, is that she just does have that leash and that latch onto PSG where she gets the license to be the best player in the team. Whereas for Bonaday, she does look a little bit more haphazard. She looks like a liability in some aspects of the game. And look, I wouldn't really call Captain, Egarola and Pelova the most physically gifted midfield. In fact, it's a quite slow technical midfield that overwhelmed them in ways that can only be described as maturity, but also they're not even that old. Like, we're talking, Egarola's 26 years old. Like, that's the oldest player that they have, and in that midfield.
Captain's
and I think
20.
Yeah, exactly. And they're bringing on Chastity Grant. They're bringing on Pettimores. It's not the most excessively grandiose depth.
It's not an exciting second team for Netherlands, and it's also a team that France should easily overwhelm. And I'm not just saying that as a Chastity Grant hater. I'm saying that this is a Netherlands team that is not the fastest, not the strongest, but they were able, as you said, to overwhelm, particularly in midfield, that France team.
And Berenstein did her job. Lukta came off, and I mean, this is also without Viv. So you do think to yourself, what is this Netherlands team capable of? Maybe they've finally found the the depths of their rock bottom post Serena and now built up into a realm where they can challenge again, and this is it.
Yonker ball. That's
Yonker
2023
ball,
Yonker ball, man.
Yonk ball. No, it is the Yonk. It is the year of. It's not the year of the Yonk anymore. It's the year of the rink. It's the rink, and will he rink them out of it? I think they could. I think they genuinely could. And look, DVD does have that blunder in her, but I think Ollie Slagers is coming into fruition and making Stonks look high. I think if Berman and Aston, they could be the centre back partnership for the next 10 years. To be honest,
exactly.
Like that's how good they really are. But that is all we have for the Netherlands-France game. We will move into Group C, probably the biggest game by every metric. The numbers, the crowd, the aura, the everything. This is the best game in the national football calendar, I would say, pretty much every time they come up against each other. I think this is the more impressive game in nearly every realm, and it's England and Spain, obviously. We have them here headlining the show for us today because it is just number 1 and 2 in the world, I think. And, I mean, there's a reason for that. They meet each other at most finals. They meet each other at most Euros. It was sold out, pretty much packed out Wembley. It was mental. The eruptions, the stadium was absolutely on fire, rocking, going crazy. And we had an England win. What it means, we'll discuss that right now. But the reality of the situation is that I just want to get this out of the way before we talk about the game, is the fact that I don't think any win over each other has been entirely statement in a way that's like, pretty much they can come up against each other and one of them will beat the other one, and you think to yourself, you know what? It actually doesn't mean anything for the next game because every time I've predicted who's going to win one and who's going to win the other, I've got, like, the last 5 times I think I've got it wrong. Like, I got it wrong at the World Cup final. I thought England were going to do it because I didn't think Spain had their whole team, and Spain delivered on the top stage in Australia. Then in the Euros, I thought Spain were going to rinse them off the park, and they started well, but then England just aura farmed their way through that final and did things that I didn't think were possible. And I thought that, yes, there was a part of me that thought that England could win this game, obviously in Wembley, crowd going crazy, but I thought Spain were in such good form, especially post the Nations League, and I just got it wrong again. And I think, I mean, the question is that do wins in a row against each other really matter? Does it actually affect the flow-on effect of the next game? I really do think some football matches, obviously there's pattern, and I always talk about history and the importance of, like, pedigree in that aspect, but I think this is genuinely 2 teams that have just facilitated this, like, manufactured rivalry that's only it's not even a derby. It's not a derby. It's a rivalry based on greatness.
I think that you're 100% correct, and I caveat it with there are 2 games of importance that I think signified the next game. That being the quarterfinal of the Euros back in 2022. I think that was a very, very interesting game for what Serena Wiegmann was building, and then what Spain took away from it to then happen in the 2023 World Cup final.
Aitana in the white kit. That's what I'm thinking about.
And then the second being the actual game 12 months ago. So 12 months ago, they played each other again at Wembley. It was the same scoreline, 1-0. And I think that we very easily overlooked that. I think it was one of those games where it was like, Jess Park had a fantastic game, Grace Clinton, another standout performance for England, and we just moved on. And we didn't really talk about it when the Euro final happened. But I think that game 100% was replicated in that Euro final. Stodginess in midfield, the ability for England to push up high to stop Spain gather any momentum into the final third, and in its most, like, very basic sense, stop Spain with possession. And that possession again was shown today with accuracy, with genuine, like, ability to be clinical, and just in that very basic sense, stopping Spain from playing their style of football, which is the pinnacle of any side when they play against Spain.
So the question I really have, which puts it on the map, obviously no Aitana, but you do go pound for pound, and I think we are pretty biased to Spain and think that they pretty much win across the park, bar probably 2 of the front 3 maybe, and then it just becomes a question of age and experience and form and hike. But I guess the question I pose to you, is it a Spain problem? Is it a La Roja problem? Or Is it a Sonia problem?
Jesus Christ.
Is it a Sonia problem? Yeah. Which the reality of the situation is that it could be. It could
That's
be
not gonna
a
work on
managerial.
audio.
I mean,
That's not gonna work on
yeah. Okay. I just I know it won't be in the. It'll be. It's more the talk. That's the edit. But yes. What I just did, I just took away my Spain shirt and then pulled out my new Sonia Bermudez kit that we picked up recently. Very happy with it. But look, Bermudez did come into this game and she's had a great run. She's had a great run of form, but this was the first game where I thought to myself that they kind of got tactically played off the park in the first half specifically. They made Lucia Kendall look magical. Like, obviously, she's not necessarily feeling the Ella Toon-shaped hole in that triple threat midfield that ran the show during the World Cup and in the Euros that just happened. But I think that Kendall is providing this like metronomic ability for Keira Walsh to get more space. I guess even Lucia Kendall probably should have scored that chance, that huge chance that she skied, and Serena was visibly frustrated. But it only took 2 minutes for Alessia Russo to do something that I didn't think was possible on a football field. Which, I mean, on a futsal field, that's a foul. By the way, you cannot kick the ball while you're on the ground. You cannot kick the ball while you're down. But in outdoor, you can scoop it all you want, and the fact that she scooped it over all four of them on the ground, is it Alessia Russo or is it Alessia Bonito? But that was just Brazilian-esque, and then Hempo at the back post, brilliant. The Lucy Bronze back heel to Hempo, that one too was crazy. If Hempo scored that, imagine how much Wembley would have erupted there. But genuinely, they looked rattled, especially on that left side. Olga, yep, this is what happens. This is what happens when you're playing French children for the whole better part of a year, and then you come up against world class, and I say world class right side in a Hempo, Bronze, and then an inverted Kendall and Walsh, and Stanway was moving over that right side when they decided, you know what, we're just going to plunge this left side down, this left Spanish side. And Alexia is not the most technically gifted defensive lock. Their game relies on them having the possession to control, to be the metronomic press while having the ball in their front third. But England's backline was so high, they were so far in Spain's box that it was kind of a little bit of a humbling situation. I think Hempo and James were swapping wings at perfect times. Hempo was great in that first passage of 15 minutes, but I feel like Lauren James built into this game. I don't know why she just plays for Serena like it's Braveheart. I don't know what it is, but she just plays like everything matters on the line in a game where both of them are probably going to qualify. It's not that deep, but that moment where she absolutely skills Patri Guiaro, like that's the most I've seen Patri like wrong-footed or cooked in, I want to say, like 3 years. Like, and all the comms were like, oh, you can't get that tight to Lauren James. Patri can do whatever the hell she wants, but that was masterful from Lauren James to do that to Patri. She didn't wrap around the shot as well as she probably would have liked, and Katakoi didn't really have to do much because it was off target. But we had, I don't know, it didn't feel like Spain really had anything until the second half, right?
And that's the difference between Spain and England. And I think that's the difference between these sides for the last 2.5 years, is that Spain have not evolved. And I think that that's okay to say, whilst also simultaneously saying that they're the best team in the world. Because England have changed and adapted their system and style of play in reaction to Spain. That's how good Spain are. They are getting teams to adapt and change. It's actually for the betterment of women's football. But in terms of Sonia Bermudez and in terms of Serena Wiegmann, there is obviously always going to be the Wiegmann factor. She is the better coach. She's the better manager. Bermudez, I think her biggest mistake in this game was playing Esther Gonzalez in the 9. I don't think that the team around her facilitated her correctly. I also don't think that against this English backline, an English backline that I think is not the best. I mean, Esme Morgan is not the first choice centre-back, despite her fantastic performances in the Euros, particularly the finals. And Lotte Wubben-Moy has been doing it for Arsenal. But of course, there's always going to be that, Leah Williamson factor that is just going to surpass Lotte Wubben-Moy. But I think, and I put this in the notes, the choice of Lucy Kendall to be playing in that midfield is so smart by a coach like Serena Wiegmann, who did it 12 months ago. She put Grace Clinton into that midfield to disrupt in a way that we hadn't seen. We didn't trust Grace Clinton for England at the time, in my opinion, to do it against Spain. I looked at the starting lineup. I saw Lucy Kendall and I said, I don't know if she's going to be able to match up against Alexia, Patri, and Mariona. She did. She disrupted. She was a great force, especially in creativity in the 10. And again, masterful by Serena Wiegmann to include her in the squad.
She's a football genius. Like when I mean, I remember Lucy Kendall's first game for England was against us, and she ran the show. And I think that's what Serena does. She sees the international clubs as a project. She goes, I'm going to slot you in. And this is your trajectory. This is what you could be, right? And you look at this game, like it's 6 months in the making. She took her from, okay, you're playing against the Matildas and you're going to run the middle of the park, to now you're a role player facilitating against arguably 3 of the top 5 midfielders in the world. Yeah. And you're not just competing with them, you're overwhelming them. You're getting out the back of them. And look, that I could arguably say that's Patri's worst game that I've seen her play in a very long time. I can't put a number on maybe the Sociedad game. I actually don't think she played in that Sociedad game. Maybe the last game against England. Yeah, I think Patrick can hold her head up high in that final. I think she did all right. But Alexia has been very poor in those England outings, and I think that is something to say about Lorena, my goat, who just doesn't deliver on arguably the biggest stage, which is the international tournaments. Obviously, for Barcelona, sometimes players just get the better of her, and it seems like every time Alexia and Alessia are on the park at the same time, Alessia is delivering and Alexia is not. And there is a lot to say about that in the fact that, like, okay, yeah, there's parts of the game that Alessia can't do that Alexia definitely can, but talk about a player who you'll never say will never deliver, which is, I mean, there's a lot of double negatives in that, in saying that Alessia Russo always delivers in every game, no matter what the level is, and she's on a current form hike, which I would arguably say is her best form hike since the reason she ended up at Arsenal, which was that massive stint and run into that in that United form. But this is, like, in terms of goals and assists, which is something I kind of crucified her at the back end of last season, thinking, okay, well, you've tied with Bunny. Bunny was out for 6 weeks. Now she's doing it in 2 competitions. She's doing it every week. You're complaining when she's not starting because, you know what, fair enough, she should be, and she should be playing against the biggest teams. And then, if I'm going to give my own team some love, I think Alex Greenwood is now an out-and-out left-back. Yeah. I think she locked up Vicky Lopez. She made sure that Mariona couldn't do much on that right side either. They had to swap Alexia. They were trying to metronome their way through. Ona Battier couldn't get any sniff out of Alex Greenwood. And as you said, that backline mix, I mean, the best moment of the game for Spain was that ball, 2 balls whipped in by Mapi Leon, one of which was headed in by who I think will be the number 9, as I said last week, Edna Imade. What a header. Oh, look, it's a good header. It's powerful. It's not in the corner, and it's perfect height. I'm going to say Hampton, great save. Yes, that is exactly. Talk to any goalkeeper. That's exactly where you want the ball to dive to. It's not high. It's not low. It's dead line centre, but it is ridiculous reactions, and I'm not taking anything away from the fact that Hampton made a ripper save, as Mary Earth's had to watch from the sidelines with her little framed 53 caps. I mean, look, Mary, I don't know why you're not sitting on the bench, but that is probably why, actually. This game, the 1-0 England's is probably why you're not sitting on the bench, is because you could be helping, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about with that in the realm of this game was honouring Mary Earps, but also recognising the greatness of Hannah Hampton in keeping this another clean sheet against who we would say is the best team in the world.
Well, I think if we're talking about Alex Greenwood, then you can't not talk about her corners. And I think if we move on to Germany and Austria, I think that you have an equally fantastic corner taker for my troubles as I watch.
Mate, every time she dead eyes the cam, I swear, when she's taking the corner, she looks dead at the camera and she's going, Leggy, watch this. Leggy, I swear to God, you will die.
It's so funny because I've indoctrinated my household to be like anti anti-Jule Brand for Leon. Like, we have a love for Jule Brand for Germany, but for Leon, it's been like obviously underwhelming. No, you don't have to be a genius to know that. But when like we watch games for Germany and I'm like, she's gonna do this for Leon. And my dad is like, no, she's not. She never does it for Leon. I'm like, but like she's doing it right now. Like she's doing it for Leon now. She's doing it for Germany. It's just practice against Austria. And
Do
I'm
you think
counting down the
Geraldes
days.
rang Christian Wuck and went, okay, how much do I have to pay you for him to take your corners? Like,
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
it's scary because like okay, so we know that Germany have an insane aerial ability. Nuskin is like one of the most underrated headers in the game.
We'll
But
talk about that header
but
soon.
Leon have better headers in my opinion. They are scary. Like the fact that she's doing this and her crosses, not even just her corners, her crosses are getting GA is incredibly scary.
Yeah, it is mental. There were a few. I mean, look, this is a Klara Buhl-less Germany
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
chefing up everyone else. Look, I'm going to say it now. This is my early call. As I said, Spain and England number 1 and 2 in the world. I think if every team pound for pound they have their players on their like the form of what we've seen this season, not all time. Obviously, all time I'd say Spain, but of what we've seen this season. 2027 World Cup, Klara Buhl, if she runs the show the way she's been running Woso for the last 6 months, they have like I have them winning in the way in which the tournament will be set up. I have them winning the World Cup. I genuinely have Germany doing a repeat of
2016.
2016, the Rio tournament where they beat Blackstenius of Sweden in the final. Obviously, it's not Marajan, it's not De Brits, it's not Sembrant anymore, but Jule Brand, Klara Buhl, and Yomi, these are players that do it, that do it from the front four when they're on, except Klara Buhl is always on, so that's a bit different. Then you have Nuskin, who can get her team out of holes. That header, that near post run, was nearly pitch perfect, the same goal as the quarter-final header when they were playing against France. They were 10 players down because of the hair pull, and Nuskin headers the ball to get them in that game. Obviously, that was the AKB save. That was the AKB heroics in the penalty shootout. But that was Nuskin. Nuskin got them back in that game. Nuskin went, we are not losing this final. I'm going to score a header for us. And, I mean, that's why we laughed when Sonia wasn't playing her this entire season, because Nuskin can just get your team out of holes in ways that no one else really can at Chelsea. But it was, like, I mean, she was linked to Bayern earlier this season, and I was like, I mean, Bayern should definitely snatch her up if they're going to lose Georgia Stanway. But Jule Brand, after her myriad of crosses and headers, I mean, who was the other cross to? There was another cross to someone else. It was to Enderman, right? The outside of the foot strike. That was really, really good. Jule Brand, I said she kind of needs to score, not just assist everyone else. And then she does score. It is a very, very fortuitous deflection. But again, those are the kind of goals that lead to you getting the strikes that you want. And I think she does score for Germany a lot more than she scores for Leon. But I would like to see her deliver on the big stage. And the big stage is these 2 legs against Arsenal. It's a good time to show your worth. But I just think this was a murder against Austria. I know Austria did have that ridiculous goal with Chiara D'Angelo pulling one back like really quickly because Hanshaw's
debut,
ball.
I think.
Yeah. I'm not too sure.
First 3 games, I think, or something like that. Very
I think it was her first goal. But Verena Hanshaw was the one who played that dead ball across. It wasn't a dead ball. It was just a quick restart. That ball across was absolutely brilliant. And then we had Leah Schuller off the bench with a bit of grit between her teeth. I think she's angry that her starting spot has been taken. She came on, looked very aggressive. The header was dragged wide earlier before this, about 2 minutes before, and then she got out the back on the half turn, strikes it into the post, and in its perfect finish. I'd love to see Schuller starting again, but she has to earn it this time, and sometimes it takes you like hitting. I mean, Leah Schuller's rock bottom is probably not starting for her national side. I would say that's how good her career is. So I think there is a lot to say in the fact that she has to work for a position that was once hers, and now if she keeps going off this form, being a super sub, a momentous player, maybe win a game off the back of your substitute, we get to a point where we're talking about Leah Schuller as one of the best strikers in the world again.
To me, it's a fall from grace, really. I still think that she's just been such an underwhelming player in the last 12 months. I remember her game, I believe it was against Denmark this time last year. She scored some fantastic goals. Going into the Euros, I was saying that she's going to be the best player at this tournament. She obviously didn't perform to that level, and I don't know whether that was because of her own form or whether that was because she was not getting that facilitation the same way because of the heavy reliance on Brandt and Buhl. But in all honesty, the fall has been so much so that I don't think that you saw it coming, and that's why it's sadder. It's a genuinely sad thing for women's football when you're not seeing the best players perform, and they're getting super subbed when they should be probably in the prime of their career. And this is a longevity of prime. She's had a fantastic probably last 5 years at the top form. And look, I don't think Germany actually miss her as much as they potentially could miss Julie Gwinn, who also went down this game.
We'll
But
get to that.
I think that Julie Gwinn, that's the biggest talking point out of this game. If Bayern lose her, I genuinely think that's tie over against
It is
Barcelona.
game. It is game. And especially with the way Caro was playing
Yeah.
against that. That's Caro's side. That's Caro's direct matchup. And that means, look, Ket is great. Ket will probably play on the other side, but it means that Vamsa has to come in, and Vamsa isn't bad. It's not bad. It's just the difference.
Yeah.
You need everyone on form to get you over the line. There is a potential that Bonmati will be playing in this second leg, which is what I've been, what's been coming out of the new camp, but. That second leg at the new camp, you're going to be absolutely terrified to your jocks if Jule Gwinn is not playing. She's a leader out the back. There's almost a Woso Philip Lahm comparison in a lot of the ways that she leads from that side of the pitch. She can play left back, she can play right back, she can invert into that midfield pocket of the six and then overwhelm. But again, if Germany want to get back to their former heights, obviously the early 2000s winning their World Cups, the Klara Bulls, the Anyomis, the Jule Brands of it all are the new era of Germany, and this Christian Wuck is looking for blood. I mean, the way they played in that first leg against who was it? Against Spain, I believe, where they definitely have the ability to go up against the Titans and show their worth, show their levels. And I mean, I just love the way Germany play. I think Wuck's football is so it's so modernized. It's so effortless. It's not necessarily fluid and cultural and flamboyant in that way. It's very structural. It's very technical. There's almost something Klopp about it in a way. I think the structure of their press and their speed in transition is just such modern football. It's what we've grown to love and watch time and time again. But again, 5-1 against Austria is hampered by that Gwinn injury, and it is very sad. But that is all we have for the World Cup qualifiers, and that is all we have for the podcast this week. I hope you enjoyed. We are on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok doing our short form. We see you guys are loving the TikToks. We just crossed 200,000 views on TikTok. We know you want full audio visual experience. Go to YouTube for that. If you just want audio listening in the car, that's Spotify. And if you want us to download Snapchat, fuck you. We're not never getting it. That's your
Fair
fault.
enough.
That's your
Yep.
fault. Enjoy the Tillies on Snapchat. We'll get it on. Actually, if you want our takes on things, that's X. We do yap on X a little bit.
Not me. Not me.
No, you don't yap on
Does.
X. You don't have your yappy take. You used to have takes on X, to be fair.
I said one thing on X and I didn't get any likes, so I stopped.
Wara X take. Wara X interactions. But yes, we're on those four, the big four, the four that matter. We love making content every week. We do it every week. What? Wait. Hold on. I fucked that up. I'm going to have to redo that. Hold on. We love making content for all of you because this is what we do. WOSO is the best. Even when there's no league on, there's international breaks that provide us content on content on content, and we can provide football content for you, not just working on every second, not just looking up every hour, not just scouting every day, but covering WOSO every week.
Every week?
Every week?
Every
week. Thank you very much
going
for
3
listening.
times.
Yeah, because it's 3 times in the show for anyone
know,
who
but
doesn't
you've been
listen
doing
to
it
us.
twice.
It's the in-betweeners bit. Are you broken,
32
Leggy?
is
Are you broken,
good.
Leggy? Nah, you're not broken, but we do cover it every week. Thank you.
Suitcase wanker.
No, it's suitcase. It's bus. It's bus wanker. Whoa, so podcast wanker. Thank you all for listening and have a great day.